you.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Jen Mayer, and I'm the head of Library Research Services at UNC Libraries, and I'm also the liaison to the graduate school. So I'll be doing the APA style workshop for you today. So here's a picture of me. And I'd like people to introduce themselves if possible. We could do that maybe on the chat feature. If people could just jump on and say hi and your name really quick and your what you're studying, your disciplinary area, that would be great. Or if you want, you can unmute yourself and do it via audio, whichever is fine with me.
Hello, my name is Kofi. I'm from Department of Applied Statistics and Research Methods.
Okay, great. Hi. Hello. And then I see there's Carly in the chat, speech language pathology, Tina, special ed, gifted ed, Rania, ed psychology, great. Okay, anyone else here who wants to introduce themselves? Okay, all right, fantastic. So please let me know at any time if you have any questions. Just jump in either on the chat or via audio, and I'm happy to address those as we go. So the plan for today is, there we go. Here are the outcomes. So I hope at the end of this hour you'll be able to find more information on APA style. There's a lot of great resources out there for you. Learning essential elements of reference lists and in-text citations for APA, and then learning how specifically to use the database APA Style Central, and then some other time-saving tips for you. So that's the plan for today. And like I said, if you have any questions as we go, please just jump in. So I really like to think about citing in terms of time savers. I think it's really important because there are a lot of tricks out there. Citation style can be really time consuming. So I want us to have a short discussion about kind of experiences you've had with citation styles. So here are my prompts here. So I just have 3 on here. So who wants to share why we cite information? And feel free to jump in on the chat or via audio. And I think if you want to talk, you just need to unmute yourself on the microphone. Okay, so you cite to give credit to the author, yep. To give credit the source. Yeah, exactly. So that's a really important piece of citing. And I also think it's really important in terms of how previous work, how you can build upon previous work, and how, yes, exactly, Kofi, to ensure continuity of ideas. So that was kind of where I was just going. Where you fit in the scholarly conversation and how other works, you're building on them, or you're disagreeing with them, or whatever it is, how you're part of the scholarly conversation. So these are all important reasons why we cite materials. And someone saying, it's hard, Yasmin, hard to cite presentations. Yeah, so we're gonna definitely be talking about some specific formats and how to cite those for sure. So I'm just curious, I don't know if there's like a poll on here. I'm not really seeing that. But if people could jump in and just say if you've used APA style before, and you can do that on chat if you want. Yes. Carly has. No. Okay, a few yeses. Need a refresher. Yeah, I can relate to that. Okay, yeah, so we've got a mixed group of yeses, nos. It's been a while. Okay, wonderful. So I'd like to hear from you what you think the most challenging aspect of citing or citation style is for you personally. We've seen presentations are tricky for one person. What are some other challenges you've run into? In text with multiple authors, yep. Online materials, yes. I'm gonna make note of these, so. Okay, any others? Videos, okay. Okay, great, so yeah, those are a few tricky ones. Oh, even textbooks, yep. Okay. All right, thanks for sharing those challenges. So, like I said, the time-saving aspect is really important here. And so I'm going to start off today with just some different tools you can use, and then we're going to get into some specifics on APA and, like I said, APA Style Central. So here are a few things, a few time savers for you that you can use. One that you may have noticed is many of our databases through the library offer citation features. They often look like quotation marks. And so you'll see those in EBSCO and ProQuest databases. You'll see it in the Summon database. So it will cite the item for you in terms of a reference list. I haven't seen any that will do an in-text citation for you. And, you know, for the most part, I think those have really improved over time, but they are, they can be incorrect. So my advice, if you do use those quick cite features within the database, is to double check that the database has cited them correctly. So if you're turning in a big paper or a big, you know, your thesis or your dissertation, I would say if you're using that option to definitely double check to make sure it is correct. And I'm gonna just jump out here for a second and do a search to show you what I mean quickly. So let me move this. Okay. Okay, so does everyone see, I just have a Google page up right now. Does everyone see that? Because I went out of my PowerPoint. Yes, okay, wonderful. So now I'm gonna go to the UNC library site, and honestly, how I get there is I just Google UNCO libraries, because if I type UNC, usually the University of North Carolina comes up, so that's an easy trick to get to our site. Oops. There, I'm just gonna move that over, but I can still see the chat. Okay, so for example, just very quickly, Summon is our main box here. You can also go into databases by subject. So lots of options there. I'll just try an education database real quick. Here we go. And you'll see this is very common in a lot of our databases. So just quickly, I'll just do a quick search in here and show you what I mean. Has anyone used, while this is coming up, it's a little slow, has anyone used that cite feature within some of the databases? Here's the one in this particular database. Oops. They're all a little bit different. So I'm selecting this first one that I want to cite, and oh, it defaulted to APA, okay. So you can see, there's some different editions in here. I haven't heard of that one. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one. So that's an example of a database feature that it will cite for you in APA. So there is that option in many of our databases. Okay, now I'm going to minimize this and that. Okay. All right, there we go. So, oh, I'm having some issues getting my PowerPoint onto the main screen here in presentation mode. So I'll just do this. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint now? Okay, great. So some other time savers. Move this over. There we go. There's a citation management program. There's a lot of them out there. One is called RefWorks, and Stan Trembach, one of the librarians here at UNC, is actually going to do a workshop that's all about RefWorks. Next, I don't know, Daniel has that information. I think it's during September. So that's a really handy way to utilize a program that can manage all of your citations. In RefWorks, you can create works cited lists and do in-text citations. So if you're interested in learning more about RefWorks, that will be the workshop for you. I mentioned earlier I'm going to go into APA Style Central in more detail, and the library's YouTube channel. So if you go to the library page, you'll be able to see up in the upper right corner, there's a YouTube icon. Let's see, I'll just go there. So here's the library site. Our YouTube channel is right here. We're also on Facebook. So if you want, you can like us on Facebook and get the latest library news. But here's YouTube channel. And there's actually, we have videos on APA citations that we've done, APA style right there. Lots of other great stuff for you as graduate students. You might want to check out these videos of the different librarians. I know there's a few education grad students here on the call. Oh, this is my video for, I talk about services for graduate students. We've got health sciences. Oh, thank you, Daniel. The RefWorks workshop he put in the chat. So please do, if you're interested, sign up for that one. Stan, who is right over here, his video, you can watch Stan's video and learn more. He's our education librarian. So I hope you find our YouTube channel helpful. And again, there's some specific videos on APA, which is this one right here. And yeah, I think it's handy sometimes to have a short video. Let's see. Okay. So, oh, we have an online guide. I have the URL. These are all linked. So I understand that this presentation will be recorded. So you can click on, you can refer back to this and click on any of these links if you're interested. So we have an entire APA style guide that one of the librarians put out there, which is very handy. We also have print copies of the publication manual of the American Psychological Association, APA. So sometimes people just like print. So the library has copies of that. It tends to be a very popular book title. So you might want to invest in your own paperback copy, or you can certainly come by. We have several print copies in the reference section as well. It's just kind of nice because the actual book talks about, it gives context in addition to the citation information. So like writing for the behavioral and social sciences, there's a whole section on that, on doing literature reviews and manuscript elements. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. And then last but not least, the Al Purdue APA site, you might be familiar with that. It's I've found it to be really helpful. It's just a really nice website where you can go and get specific examples of all different kinds of citation and APA style. So, okay, Daniel, I got a meeting alert. I don't know, maybe that's not, it says meeting will end in 10 minutes, but maybe that's not a problem. Okay, so the Al-Purdue site is great. So up next, so I did want to, oh, you won't be able to see my GIF since it's not activated since I'm in preview mode. Sorry about that. But I just want to reiterate what came up at the beginning of the session, and that was that it's really important to be very exacting in your citations in order to give credit to other people's work. But I also like to think of it in terms of not just the mechanical side, but I really like to think of the bigger picture issues that really, again, that being part of that scholarly conversation and how your work interacts with other sources. I think, so that's to me one way to keep in mind APA style that to me makes it maybe a little less painful, that you are really, you know, you're fitting into this larger conversation. Okay. So, first of all, you need to know what you are citing. So obviously what format you're citing, that you can pretty much cite anything under the sun in APA style. And I think where it gets tricky is when it's something that isn't exactly listed. So for instance, like I helped someone fairly recently cite it was like a white paper kind of item, and there was no exact example. It was also online. Someone mentioned earlier that they have challenges citing online materials sometimes. It was online, and it was, yeah, it was like, just, it didn't quite fit into any of the categories, but what we were able to do is look at it together and figure out what the best sort of, we went and sort of customized the citation so that whoever was reading this paper would be able to find the citation again in a reasonably, you know, similar APA format. But we had to kind of customize it a little bit. And that happens actually more than you think, or you may have run into that yourself. So you need to know what it is and who created it. Obviously, someone mentioned the multiple authors earlier, the editor, who's the website author, which can sometimes be difficult to discern, and how to format that. So here's an example on the right side of how to format the name in APA. And you've probably, some of you have seen this who have used it, the last name and the initials. All right, so I have a few of the slides next coming up are related to the actual references. So, oh, a little bit more on this. When it was created, what is the title of the item? This one's really important, the DOI. Oh, I'm seeing a comment. I did not see the format slide. So to me, I think of format as like one of these items here where it's appearing in there. The DOI is really important to include. I'm sure you've seen this in some of your reading. That just is it's basically like a permanent URL. It stands for Digital Object Identifier. So it's just a really easy way for people to go back and track down the item, the article. So that's what that is. So if you ever see citations, especially in APA, but in other citation styles, certainly, that have that URL at the end of it, that's typically the DOI number. Not every article has one of those, but I think it's becoming more and more common as time goes by. So I have a few reference list examples, and this one's a simple, we'll start simple. So, and this is pulled simply from APA sources. So this is an example of a print book in the reference list. Again, we're starting with the reference list. So like I said, there's ways that you can have technology format this for you, like with RefWorks or APA Style Central, the database, or the site feature and databases. So that's what that looks like, just so you start to get the gist of that. And then this is what a journal article with 2 authors looks like. And there's that, that DOI number, that's a long one. So there's that. Include things you need to include in the APA style citation. Okay, so I'm just, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna breeze through these different examples. You can find these examples on our APA LibGuide that I have a link to. You can find them in APA Style Central and some other places. So here's in-text citations. Okay, there's examples of that. Okay, and then I was talking about that we have the actual book. We have this research guide that is super helpful, that has a lot of information about APA there. And then the database, APA Style Central. So you get to that by going to the library main page, and then databases A to Z. And it's under A because it's called APA Style Central. And this is how you get there. So what I was saying before, I think I accidentally was out of this forum, is you don't have to set up an account, but I recommend you do, because if you set up your own account in the upper right corner of the screen, and I'm gonna give people a chance to go in there and follow along with me if you want. So the account gives you some additional options that you can use. So if you would like, just go ahead and go to the library site. And again, I just Google UNCO library, and that's a really fast way to get to the library site. And databases A to Z, and then A. And then you're gonna go to APA Style Central. So when you click on that, and I'm not going to go into it right now. I'm going to just talk about it because I don't want to get kicked out of this meeting again. So I'm staying on this screen for now. But for those of you following along on your computer, once you're in the APA Style Central site, if you go up to the welcome login site, that's where, if you want, you can create an account. And I would recommend, if you do that, just to use your UNCO email as your logon. Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the different modules. So these are some advantages to setting up an account in the APA Style Central resource. You can use favorites, so you can actually save pieces of information that you find useful in there. You can actually work on papers within the database. You can create and add references to papers. So this is kind of a different approach than RefWorks. If you want to use it for that purpose, you don't have to. There's all sorts of online book resources in here too. but you don't have to create this account to use it because you as a UNC student can use it anyway. So I'm just going to talk about it. If you're in there, you'll see there's 4 modules, and one is learn, one is research, write, and publish are the 4 different modules, and they're color coded in there, okay? And I'm just going to talk briefly about each one. So the research module is the first one up. So I just pulled a few highlights that I think are really valuable about the research module. And that is, there's a whole suite of, sorry, I skipped one. I want to talk about the Learn module because that's first. So under the Learn module, you will see, if you click on that green tab at the top, there's tons of quick guides about APA citing, there's tutorials, and there's self-quizzes, and actually sample papers. So I think the Learn module is actually incredibly important. So when you're in the Learn module, you can totally do a search. There's a place you can search the Learning Center and pull up tutorials on things like tables, for example. So some people get really, I get questions sometimes about, I don't know how to cite tables or figures. So this will have a whole section on table components and citing in APA, but you can search for anything in there. And there's quick guides, tutorials. Like I said, the sample papers I think can be useful just to see how other people have done it. So I really like this database a lot. There's even something on publishing your journal article when you're to that point. So it's a pretty powerful resource in terms of APA. So the next one is the research module. And that one contains, so that's a darker green tab on there. That one contains lots of APA books that are online. But I just want to say, which is really cool that you can get to them that way. But I want to say that they aren't the only research-related books we have, certainly at UNC libraries. And this is where I want to put in a plug for the database SAGE Research Methods. That is a really great database if you haven't looked at it yet. And based on the disciplines you shared with me at the beginning of this session, I think it would behoove you to look at SAGE Research Methods. That's a separate database. You can get to it through the database A to Z list under S for SAGE. And you can take a look at that, and there's all sorts of research materials in there. So anyway, that's an aside, but I just didn't want you to think that these were the only research related books we had. Okay. Under the Write module, I really like this module of APA Style Central because there are templates. So if you're in there right now, you can see, you can go into the one that says start a new paper and write a new paper. So it literally gives you templates for things like an empirical paper, a case study paper, a lit review paper, a reaction paper, on and on and on, which I think is really helpful. Those templates, I think, can be a real lifesaver. So I'd recommend, if you check out the Write module, to definitely look at the templates. And then there's also sample papers under each one of those types of papers. So like the multi-experiment paper, you can look at a sample paper and how the paper is laid out, etc. So I think the Write module is really pretty great. And then last but not least, the Publish module. So when you're ready to publish your paper, that will be an option for you to utilize. You can actually search for journals that you can potentially publish in that are a match for your research. So you can set parameters on the actual journals and say, I did this research on this age group, etc., and it'll match you up. And in this discipline, it'll match you up with potential journals to apply for. That's also something you can totally do with a librarian. So what I would like to do now is for us to just have a little practice. I'd like you to go into either APA Style Central, or I'd like you to go into, maybe you go into the APA YouTube video, and I hope you caught that, but it may have been the part that cut off. Under the YouTube channel for the libraries, there's an APA video there. There's also the APA LibGuide. So I'm going to go back to that slide that has all those links on it, so that that's a reminder of some places you can practice. Because there's a lot of resources out there. Okay, so this is where the research guide URL is. This is how you get to APA Style Central. And if you want to look at the YouTube video, that's just on the library's page for YouTube, our YouTube channel. So those are a few things. So I think just take a few minutes to try one of these items out. And you can jump on the chat or the audio if you want to share something with your practice. And I'd like to, since we're starting to run a little short on time, I'd like to entertain if anyone has any questions. Please jump in onto chat or audio. I also included on this last slide a link to the UNC subject librarians. So for example, this link will go right to the page with the various subject librarians. You can make an appointment with them. We have an education librarian, Stan, who's going to be doing the RefWorks workshop. We have a business communication librarian. We have health sciences librarian, social sciences, psychology. Pretty much every discipline is covered here in the libraries for you. And I also want to put in a plug for the Writing Center, because they are also a really important resource in terms of citation style. So you can get in touch with them, make an appointment. And just as a heads up, I want you to know that typically, whether you're meeting with a librarian or someone at the Writing Center, what those individuals won't do is proofread your citations for you. But how those people can help is if you're just really stuck, like when I helped the person who really didn't know she didn't know where to start to cite that white paper, that it was kind of a different kind of report. And so that was an example of us working together. It wasn't a scenario of, proofreading the citation. So we're always happy to help meet with people if you just don't know where to start on a citation question. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. Does anyone have any questions offhand at this moment? Okay, so I do think, so for Linda's comment or question, could we have these slides uploaded at Canvas? I think that is Daniel's total plan, to put these in a Canvas shell for graduate students. So he had indicated that to me. Yes, and like I said, these are all hyperlinked. So yep, Daniel says yes. And then the question from Addison, are the paper APA style guides at the library available for free, or do they have to be checked out? So we do have paper guides that you can totally check out. They're very popular. And there's also reference copies that stay in the building, but you're welcome to look at those on the building. And then Raina says there's an APA engine in all Word documents. Is this reliable? That's a great question, Raina. I have not used, has anyone used that? Sure, you're welcome, Linda. Has anyone used that APA search or the APA feature in Word documents? I haven't used it, and I'm glad you brought that up because I have a vague recollection that it exists. So has anyone had an experience with that being reliable or is it buggy? I think that's a really good question. I would play with it, since you know where it is in the Word document. I would experiment and try it, just like I would double check my citations if I had things generated in RefWorks or with the cite feature within the databases. Yes, okay. So I'm seeing a plug for yes, that Linda has used that feature and it's great. So yeah, I would just double check it for sure. Okay, great. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, I really appreciate you all being the Zoom guinea pigs today, and I apologize for the technical glitch, but thanks for hanging in here with me. And yeah, please look for my PowerPoint with the links in the Canvas shell, thanks to Daniel. And please do not hesitate to get in touch with any follow-up questions. You can just email me directly or your subject librarian, whoever that might be. So thanks so much for coming today, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you sometime, as well as learning more about Zoom. All right, thank you.